Okay, hello, I'm Nicole Miller. I'm the District 2 Coordinator for the IATSC Women's Committee. And as part of our Hidden Figures initiative for highlighting women around the union, I am interviewing Ashley McKinney with Local 700. And a couple of things to say about Ashley. As a core member of the Local 700 Young Workers Group, Ashley spearheaded the car painting drive-through events during the basic agreement negotiations. Those events reinvigorated the membership and helped unite members across locals like never before, as well as providing useful imagery for the press and the public. Ashley is a vocal advocate for mental health and accessibility in the union and on the job. She ran in the most recent local elections and is now chair of the Disability and Accessibility Steering Committee as part of the Motion Picture Editors Guild Diversity Committee. So welcome, Ashley. And what was your first experience like in the union, in the Editors Guild, or in the IATSC?
I joined in 2015, 2 months after I actually got onto the roster. I was really lucky. A friend of mine reached out and said that there was an editor that he knew that needed an assistant, and he's wanting somebody that is relatively new, and he wants to kind of train and work with somebody to mentor. It was really positive. It was really a mentorship thing. I got to meet Karen Green from Local 700. She was one of our field reps, and she was just the nicest person in the world. I have a service dog, and she came and did a site visit on the first two projects that I was on, and she remembered my service dog. She brought dog treats for him. I was very lucky to have the very positive experiences there, especially because I do work with a service dog. There's stigma around that. I'm very open about why I need my service dog. I was diagnosed with PTSD in 2013, and he helps me work and he helps me be a member of society. But at the same time, there is also that stigma that comes with, oh, you have PTSD, that means you're going to fly off the handle and you're not going to be you're not going to make a good working environment. So I like giving people a positive example, and hopefully that changes things for people moving forward.
Thank you. That's really interesting. I appreciate you sharing the personal experiences and your individual story. So adding to that, because you shared some of your own personal experiences, like I said, but also was wondering how you've experienced things in the union. Maybe you have a situation you've dealt with, or a challenge, or a specific story you can tell us about.
Well, like you mentioned earlier, I did spearhead the car painting situation, events, whatever you want to call them. My friend Sharon, she's the one who kind of is one of the co-chairs of our young workers group, and she is great at finding the right people to put on the right projects. And so she was like, we need to do something. Can we, this is an idea that I had, but I can't plan it. Can you do it? And so I just kind of took it and ran with it, and bought up all of the paint markers in all of LA that were white. I had my husband, he has a Cricut machine, so I had him cut stencils. Oh man, I was in the middle of dailies also at the time. So it was like I was pulling all-nighters just to get this running. But I did that because I felt like it was something that could bring us all together in this one little space and do something fun, but also somewhat effective, because LA, we drive around a lot. There's cars that get parked on the lot, and people go on those lot tours and maybe see it, and it becomes a conversation piece. And
Right.
So it was a visual connection to the stories that were being publicized, which it became a perfect storm, I think.
Yeah, it was all over town. All
Yeah.
the cars and everything down the street from me and everywhere. And great that you were such a big part of that. And to add to that story that you told earlier too, to kind of backtrack, as you mentioned your PTSD and you were open about sharing that. And since Sharon said that you were chair of the Disability and Accessibility Steering Committee, is that something that is personal to you because of your own experiences?
I think there aren't a lot of resources. I mean, when I was first starting out working with a service dog, there's not a lot of resources for working with a service dog specifically within the film industry. The guild should have resources for these kinds of things, because one of the people that helped me make the committee, his name's Reed, he is hard of hearing. And he realized when we switched to Zoom meetings that it was a lot easier for him to understand what was going on because he could turn on the little live transcript. And it's like, well, yeah, we don't have that in an in-person meeting. We don't have an interpreter. We don't have that. And that should be something that we have. And that's a big piece that's also near and dear because my husband, he is a CODA. Both of his parents were deaf, and his first language is ASL. And so seeing lack of access when they were going through their medical experiences, that kind of just clicked in my brain. It's like, well, this is where it's not just me who needs resources and access and situations. It's, a whole host of other people that don't feel comfortable to share as much as I am comfortable at sharing. So what can I do to facilitate that change because I am comfortable? I think the industry is having a representation reckoning right now, and it's kind of, like I said earlier, a perfect storm of things happening.
Mm-hmm. And things that are coming out of it, such as this committee, which maybe it'll inspire other locals to create something like this. So don't be surprised if people start reaching out to you and asking for.
Yeah, I do want to say TAG, the Animation Guild, they have a committee that's like this, and we've been in contact and just talking about what resources they come from, because I think we can kind of jump off of what works from what TAG, and we've given feedback for what works for us. So I do want to give them a shout out too.
They do have ones that not all the other locals have, and that can be inspiring. And I think I mentioned this, that yours is a part of the diversity committee with the guild. So it seems like that's maybe a possible, because diversity could cover a lot of things. So it's great that lots of really interesting and new and inspiring things, I think. All right, shifting gears a little bit. So what is the most satisfying part of your job?
I love figuring out puzzles. That is like my favorite thing in the world. I love finding ways to make things into a bigger picture. And that is really how I view editing. That's how I approach figuring out any type of tech issues that I need to figure out as an assistant, or creative ways of doing sound design for temp cuts, for previews.
And maybe that sort of translates into your involvement with the union as well, solving problems to a degree, maybe.
Yeah, I think I've always said that the thing about assistant editors is that we get really, really good at anticipating things. And when we see a problem, we try to fix it before it becomes a bigger problem. And that's definitely how I have approached my involvement in the union. Is it may not necessarily be a problem per se, but it's a different way of looking at things. Because I think when we let things kind of stagnate and not change with the times, it can end up kind of isolating, especially new members. My whole philosophy is that we are a union, and that means that we help one another out when somebody is first entering, because that gives them a foundation to reach out to and then pass that on, hopefully in the future. And if we build off of that, that makes us stronger, because it's a very strong base that everyone has.
Right. And we need the new members to have a future.
Yeah.
And maybe need more of the service dog stories
Yeah.
to bring them in. Yeah. And in addition to all the things you said about being proactive and perhaps a new perspective, thinking outside the box, maybe. Yeah. But I really appreciate it and look forward to seeing this wherever it ends up. And I thank you very much, Ashley.